You need to be able to pick the reality that best serves you. Even if it might not be true, does it best serve you to actually believe that everything does work out in your favor? But if you see everything as a problem, then you might say, that's not for me. Is it? Who is it for them?
I believe everybody's just one skill away from a totally different life. It's just them putting the time and energy in to actually fulfill on that skill that may be out there. And there's so much readily available information, YouTube, podcasts. We live in one of the greatest eras of all time to absorb new things and to have new skills. That's how you start to build something. You just start to stack skills, period.
You spend $100,000 on the degree. Sunk cost bias is saying, I'm not going to throw this master's degree away and I must stick with this. But if you have new information, say, hey, you know what? I believe this will serve me and my family better. Do it. Do not fall for the sunk cost bias if it ain't working no more. I love these conversations. That's our whole blueprint of like what drives us.
Welcome to the JV Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Vasquez. What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of the JV Pod. I got to tell you guys something. Today's interview with Reuben Kanya is my longest podcast, but it's also one of my favorite podcasts I've done this year. Reuben is a MTR expert, has been able to build in the midterm rental space for quite some time. He works with temporary housing companies and has built a pretty awesome business for himself. But beyond that, today we talk about a lot of the mental fortitude that needs to come along when you're building something significant. Whether you're starting from zero or whether you have 5 to 7 to 10 to 30 to 100 properties, today's conversation is going to open your eyes of what it actually takes to build a successful business, how you need to be in tune with yourself, how you need to start to focus on things that are actually going to allow you to grow. And most importantly, the people that are around you might not support your growth and how you need to pull inward to do those exact things, which is become a different person. And today we have laid out a roadmap of conversation that can allow you guys to extract some really, really positive information. In fact, if you could do me a solid favor, because I know you guys are going to love this episode, share this with somebody that needs to hear this conversation. I do believe that sometimes you'll get a sign, you'll listen to something, it might be something really amazing. Please share this information or this podcast with somebody else. They will see that they can grow in these spaces too. And I think we talked about a lot of really interesting things that are so important as you're starting to get into self-development that, again, this podcast can help a lot of people. One more favor that if I can ask of you all that are, since you're here and just listening to me speak right now, please go and like and subscribe to this wherever you listen to, if that's Spotify or that's Apple. Leaving a review allows me to get really amazing guests like Reuben. So I would appreciate you to take 5 seconds out of your day right now. Actually, just do that. And I would appreciate it so much. You have no idea. In fact, I am so grateful for all the hundreds of people that listen to these episodes on a regular basis. It's incredibly humbling to me, and I appreciate you so much. Let's dive in this episode with Reuben Kanya. For those of you guys that are just tuning in right now, Reuben and I were discussing video, audio, all the camera stuff. I love video stuff, Rube. So I've been into this, taking photos, and I have old cameras that I use, 35 millimeter cameras from the 60s. I just love traditional.
Were you actually shooting for yourself, just as a hobby?
Yeah, bro. That's something that I actually and this is actually timing, good timing that I'm talking to you about this right now. Bro, I feel like I've been, the last 5 years, I've been nonstop, just going. And I burned out, bro. I was at the point where I'm just is this what I want to do anymore? Is this something that I love? Because I was just continuing to build. And all the things that I loved doing started to become chores. They started to feel
When did you feel that?
February of this year.
How do you know when you burn out? That might be helpful for someone who's listening. That's what I'm asking. I'm curious. How do you know when you burn out?
For me, what I realized what burnout is, and there's two differences here. I want everybody to realize this. There's a W-2 burnout that you just get exhausted doing the things that you hate doing because you know you're worth more. And you're just you're showing up to this space of I know I need to do more. There's a burnout that comes attached with that, with spending time away from family and all this stuff where you just you recognize you need more. This burnout is me continuing to hustle, Reuben, for 5 years nonstop. Dude, I see you going on vacations. I see I have not been able to live like that, bro. I've been able to
Dude. You know what you got to get? I'm going to interrupt you right now. Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Have you read that
I'm listening to that. I'm listening to it right now. I'm on chapter 5.
Every 5 to 10 years, I have a book that kind of changes my paradigm completely.
Yeah.
One of it was Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, Who Not How by Darren Hardy.
Bill Perkins, Die with Zero.
Die with Zero. Die with Zero, because Die with Zero is basically, it's this whole hustling as a habit, just as being lazy as a habit, and you can start hustling and like start to lose track of why you're even hustling. And his whole premise is all about like memory dividends, right? Like what's why are you doing it for? And like, are you doing with the people that you love? And like, yeah. So I think I'm glad you're on this path in your journey and you're reading and listening to that book.
Yeah, bro. I'm super like introspective with a lot of things, and like I feel that every entrepreneur has this like crazy drive, dude, where it's almost a detriment to a certain degree. I think depending on who you are. Like I think if you have the personality where you're just like, I'm building, I'm gonna go, I'm freaking all in, dude, it's hard to stop that. It's hard to like, in fact, what usually happens to people is they end up getting sick. Something like the God, the universe, whatever you guys believe, listening to this, for me, it's God, like will force you to literally stop. Like you have to figure, you will be forced in that scenario. And I feel like for me, I'm like, I was recognizing those patterns. Like I stopped doing the things that I loved. I stopped watching baseball. I watched baseball. And it was almost like this, like, you know how you go into a seasonal depression? Like if you've ever been through that before, where it's like, oh, it's starting to get gloomy now. And you just kind of like feel that feeling. That feeling was covering me, dude, like regularly. That's like not my personality. It's not the way I operate. So I recognize that super early of like, dude, something's not right. And it's like, I'm working all these things.
Could you pinpoint it when you felt that? Like when you said something is not right, could you like, did you, because there's two things, like there's conscious competence and unconscious competence. So you're kind of like, hey, I know I should be making more time for myself, but I need to grind. Or was it one of those, I feel like everything is right, but everything feels wrong? Like which one was it?
It was probably the first one, more of the first one. It was not even that. I wasn't even, I mean, I was aware of it, but I wasn't as aware as I probably should have been. But what I realized is like, bro, I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and start working. And I would like literally go back to sleep at 3:30. And then I'd wake up again at 7, jump right into work. I'd do my morning walk and then my workout. And then I would just like jump into work. So like everything was based around production. And if I stopped doing something, Reuben, and this is where I think people will yeah, bro, I feel like I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just laying here. I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not doing this.
Habit. Yeah, see that. Yeah, that's it. See, that can be, and this is a thing. It's so funny because I was listening to a thing yesterday when I was working out, because I listen to these videos when I work out. It's like by Invictus, or like it's like these compilation videos. It's really good, actually. I would recommend it. And he was like talking about how like Michael Jordan was kind of like obsessed to a fault. Like you got to be a little bit gone to it, as what's his name says, Conor McGregor. He's like, you got to be. Look, if you're gonna operate at a very high level, there is gonna be this level of either obsession or like either I'm trying to prove something, but I think it's healthy if it fuels you and it feels fulfilling. But then if it starts being kind of like more detrimental, then you got to step back and be like, yo, listen, like, is this even good for me? Because there's some people who are like, it depends. Like you look at Elon Musk and you read his book, which I started reading or listening to his biography. I think it was like a lot of it was conflict that he had, and the lack of recognition he never got from his father.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about that at the back of his mind, he's just trying to prove himself or be worthy to the world. And if you think about that, that's not coming from a healthy place, right? That's coming from like the lack, not the gain. So I don't know, man. I feel like I love these conversations because I feel like that's our whole blueprint of like, okay, what drives us? I do think you do have to be obsessed, but then you also have to, if you're the type of person who puts other people first and not yourself first, then that's going to be a problem, because you got to put on the oxygen mask at some point for yourself. So I don't know. I don't know that it's a bad thing though. I think some of the culture now is like, hey, you got work-life balance. I think there's seasons. I think there's a season to grind, and then there's a season where, hey, listen, I'm going to spend time with family. I'm going to like unplug for a little bit, maybe. And then there's a season, maybe you're trying to write a book and you do got to grind, because you do get you do get this idea in the middle of the night and you got to write it because it's going to serve some people. I don't know. What do you think, man? Like you're the one who's going through it.
Well, I think I'm going through the seasons right now. Like I'm evolving through it. I think this was supposed to happen, Reuben, like in a way that it's like this kind of like conscious awakening in a way. I'm like a big freaking nerd when it comes to stuff like that. So I
know I love this stuff. I probably nerd out more than you do. It is given. I have all this crazy stuff, bro. I love this stuff.
I feel like right now, dude. Well, let me rewind this a little bit. Going back to Elon Musk being his dad, isn't everybody trying to prove something in some way? Like whether it's your parents, like this is where I feel like entrepreneurship, the people that are doing that, they have these. Oh, let me even rewind this even a bit further. I've been around people that are making over $100 million. And there's something that I recognize between all those people. I'm talking about the Cody Sanchez, like, the Dan Martells, like these people that are like, they're just different. And what I've noticed is they have this like this urge about them that's like they believe they deserve everything, like they do, and like I feel that in a way. And the parallel to that is like almost like they don't deserve it as well. And then on the flip side of that, what they do have, and I've noticed this between all these entrepreneurs that I'm talking about, they have this uncanny ability to have self-control. So it's like I believe I deserve everything. I believe I'm not worthy of anything. And yet I have this incredible self-control that nobody can understand. That is like this weird dynamic of like these entrepreneurs that are doing these grandiose things. It's like this recipe.
Can you unpack the self-control part, Jesse? Like, what is that? Discipline, or like, what do you mean by self-control?
Yeah, like self-control is the discipline part of it, where it's like, I know that I need to record today from 7 to 5 o'clock, and I'm going to show up for that, whether I'm sick or not. I'm going to go to the gym because that's what I'm supposed to do. I know that I'm supposed to spend 5 hours doing this. I know that I got to, like, they're so regimented in what they do that nobody, their friends, their spouse will change that idea. Like they're stuck on that. They're disciplined in that space. And I think that's where most people, like, they don't have that type of discipline. In fact, I would say 99% of the world doesn't have that discipline.
No, and you know what? You know what's funny? The correlation that I see in what you just said is, I swear to you, it's athletes, military, often. Like there's some kind of background there or some kind of discipline that is kind of baked into their psyche, and it's second nature. Because I remember I played ball until college. It was like 2-a-days. I mean, you're doing everything, and sometimes there is no reward, and you have that engine. You got to have the engine where it doesn't really matter. I'm willing to die for it type thing. And yeah, no, I hear you, man. And then the other part that you said is there's humbling kind of thing of like, I deserve everything, aka I actually believe. I think their belief system is what's there, right? Like, why not me? We'll go to the moon. Like, why not? Like, of course, who's coming with me? Because I'm going, right? But then there's the humility to like, all I know is that I don't know anything, so tell me more. I'm interested in learning more, right? And then there's that whole thing. Okay, great. It doesn't matter how long. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we're just gonna keep this thing going.
Yeah, so, and like, you probably felt this as a kid, dude. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm gonna do something, and I know I was gonna be like something powerful in life. Like I knew that I had this like thing. I remember I had this girlfriend. Her name was Tess. She was like my first girlfriend when I was like 16 years old. And she told me, I'll never forget this, dude. She's like, Jesse, you're going to be one of those guys that like something lucky happens to them. They're going to get this like awesome job and they're just going to be whatever it is, but you're going to get super lucky. And like, you just have that personality. And like, that stuck with me somehow, some way, dude, where I was like, maybe that's going to happen. And I did get lucky. I met a freaking travel nurse named Barbara, and I freaking followed that path or whatever that was. And then, but I think luck is like, I think people do get lucky, and it depends on what you actually do with the circumstance that are given to you. I think God, the universe, can get into this stuff into detail. Like, you'll get these things of these paths, and it's up to you to notice them. And if you don't notice them, they're just going to be gone. And yeah, there might be something else that comes 100%. Along.
100%. Everybody gets a present. Not everybody gets to unpack them because it's not even on their reticular activating system. Like, you might get a blessing. And this is the thing why it's so important. Like, personally, like when we talk about this and you're like, this is the thing to talk about. This is the mindset, the belief system, the awareness. I think everybody has miracles that happen to them. They just don't recognize them. And if you are somebody who's like open-minded and or that's searching for the thing, then you will find it. Literally goes back to that thing. It's like, you know, that exercise, like look for the red dot in the room, and then you look for the red dot. Did you see any of the green? No, because you weren't looking for this. Oh, okay, got me there. I feel like it's the same thing. If you actually believe that something, like, you probably internalize that and you believe that you will get lucky, and therefore you do get lucky and you see the lucky opportunities. Just like someone is like, hey, you know, when you're having a shitty day and something happens and then you just focus on the bad things, then you just get all the bad. So yeah, I'm a big believer, man. I do a lot of mindset work. I think it's everything.
Yeah, it really is. But you know what's crazy about that, Reuben, is that most people overlook the fact that mindset is everything. And if you look at all the top, like, you know, what's his name? Maxwell. What's that dude's name? What's his first name? Something Maxwell, John Maxwell. He's like a writer.
Yeah.
He's like,
John Maxwell.
John Maxwell. So like all these prolific writers, like all these people that have been doing this for a long time. If you go back, Tony Robbins, even, like, everybody says the same thing. Like, it's not this rocket science thing. It's like, it's literally this like super common or when I say common, it's there's a structure that's there, and most people, and again, I'm going back to 99% of people don't actually start to focus on the mindset part, which I believe is one of the most important pieces. And I was lucky, Ruben. Let me tell you why. Because when I was a kid and I woke up, like the first thing that I did, my mom would be like, "Hey, it's time to wake up," and smack my face or pour water on my head when I was in high school to get up for school. She'd be like, "Aren't you lucky? You just won the lottery. You're a human and you're born today. Thank God for that." And like that's burned into my brain, bro. Like that ability of like, I'm alive today. Like, how freaking amazing. Like, how lucky am I to be a human? You know, the chances of actually being a human are 700 trillion to one.
It's bananas.
That alone, bro. Like, I could have been a freaking Fila shoe or something. Like, we're humans, bro. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, we're alive, dude. It's freaking nuts.
It really is. But even see, having that perspective though, like if you wake up and I get and one of the things that I focus on is even like speaking patterns too, right? Like what do you say when someone says how you doing to them? I'm utterly fantastic. Like even just saying that you feel fantastic can set the tone for the rest of the day. And yeah, like if you look at that, if you just think about that. So one of my favorite quotes is that I think I literally posted this the other day too. It just goes back to like, just remember that where you are today is one of the things you wished for. And I think it's human nature. It's so easy to just always focus on the next thing. So one of my big things is gratitude, man. Like being like the fact you're breathing right now and there's nothing wrong. Like nothing hurts. Like you can walk, you have legs. Like if you start your morning off with the little stuff of how grateful you are, everything else is just icing on the cake. Like what an opportunity it is that I have to be able to solve this problem. What an opportunity. Not a problem. What a challenge I get to overcome. Like if you start looking at the world like that, man, like I'm pretty sure, was it, no, not Bob Proctor, but the other gentleman that he studied, he talks about that attitude is one of the most important things that successful people have. It's their attitude. They believe. Some others don't. They're going to overcome. They feel grateful. How can you not receive more blessings if you don't receive the ones that you already have, right? Like it's everything, bro.
Yeah, bro. I think that's something, and I'm like an emotionally expressive person. Like I think of myself, I'm not an artist, but like in some weird way I am. Like I've been into music when I was a kid. Like I was in bands, I toured, I did all these things like when I was younger. Right. And like I've always processed with a lot of emotion and stuff. Like when you see me talk, like I get excited. And I also have the opposite of that where it's like, damn, bro. Like I remember when people, exactly what you just said, if I message somebody and they're like, "Oh, today's fantastic." My 7-year-old, like my 7 years ago self would have been like, "Oh, this motherfucker's like, he's excited for what?" Like I'm not excited. Why is he excited? Like I used to have that mentality, bro. So and I think that is so important to recognize because most people live in that like, "Oh, this person's fantastic. I don't feel great today." So now their person, like they're above me because I feel this way and they feel that way. And we see this with social media all the time.
I've never thought about that. I thought it was actually uplifting.
But there's an opposite into that. That's most people live in that less than kind of sort of mentality because they feel like they're not doing the things that they need to be doing. Yeah. They're like dismissing. Do you agree to that or no? I feel like a lot of people live in that, like where they know they're meant for more, Rube, but they're like, and they're unhappy about it because they're not doing anything.
So I think it goes, I agree with you because I think if you just even look at, well, that's also mom mentality. I think comments on social is not actually what people would say to your face. So I think
I know, I agree to that.
That's true. I actually read something about that. How I'll give you a perfect example actually, because I was just talking about this with my friend. He's like, when you're driving and you don't see a person and someone cuts you off, you're like, this fucking asshole, this idiot, right? But then if you look at the person in the eyes, if you were to get out of the car, and I mean, this even happened the other day, and someone says, "Hey, my bad," you're like, "Oh, it's okay," right? Yeah. But that's because you just made eye contact. But if it's just a car, and this is the reason why, and I won't get into politics, they name certain groups, right? Even like the right or the left, it's easy to shit on the right and left. But if I'm talking to Jesse Vasquez and we have our differences, it's very different. Be like, I can look at you in the eye. So there's this whole thing on social media where people are just commenting on without kind of thinking about the actual person, that they would never actually say that because we're actually good people, but we just get into these mediums and so that's kind of like a side conversation. But I do think it's interesting because when I myself get inspired, like I can genuinely say, like if I see you do something amazing, Jesse, I'm just like, damn, I could do that too. Like that's amazing. And it's cool that Jesse did it because I've met him and I know who he is. That means I could do it too. But on the other hand, there's people who that offends them because it's either they're not willing, they have a low belief system in themselves and they think it's for others, and therefore when they see someone else do it, it makes them feel less than. And I think that goes back to the deep work that you have to do, right? Whatever trauma that you have or personal development, that's on you. That has nothing to do with the other person, because anything that's positive out there, like people are crushing it, etc. If your immediate reaction is like they're showing off, I think it says everything to do with you. Why do you feel they're not showing off? This is their life. So you should feel inspired. And I think there's that's why, like, if I ever see a negative comment like that, like, I really do, like, God bless their soul. Like, I really do want the best for them, because my message to those folks would be like, I really do hope one day that you can see that you are capable of doing amazing things, and you don't have to put people down because you feel that you don't have the capacity or the ability to get to.
Do you ever say that on social media? You ever respond back to people and say that exact same thing?
Oh, dude, I try to bless people with their kindness. I try to kill them with kindness. It's honestly the funnest thing. Like, even if someone like really just says bad things about you, and just be like, hey, just kill them with love, I think is the best thing you can do. Because, like, what are they going to say after that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's when you like retaliate, and it's like the people want to get, it's kind of like the bully. He wants you to respond.
Have you ever done that before though? Have you ever retaliated? Have you ever been like, dude, I have, I'm not even going to lie, bro. I've had like, dude, I get crazy comments. I wish I could pull them up and read them to you guys.
Sure,
right now.
Dude. Like, it only gets her. I have a few people in my world just like you who are, they've blown their stuff up, and it's like, I don't know, man. I think it's fun sometimes to poke at it, because it's kind of like,
I've done it, bro. It's not my greatest work, I'll tell you that. But I've done it.
For me, it's fascinating that you think that way. I think it's kind of like, I can't even convince you otherwise. Like, even if I gave you proof, like your mind is set that, like, you're no good. So I don't know, man. Like, I personally don't, but like, it'd be interesting for them to say that to your face, though.
Yeah, I would. I don't mind. I don't mind internet haters, dude. I actually kind of like it, to be honest with you.
If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping, man. That's what they say.
I like that the algorithm actually like enjoys that. Like, the algorithm was like, yeah, cool. Somebody hates somebody. Let's put it out more. Cool. Freaking yes. Please go hate on me. But it does say something, because I think that most people live, and I'm saying, when I say most people, like, the internet is like most people, right? Where you just said it, dude, where somebody's doing something, they're getting outside their comfort zone. Like, oh, this video's stupid. You're an idiot. I had somebody call me a dumb Mexican, just crazy stuff, bro, where I'm just like, dude, are you serious? Like you're going to really go on the internet and talk? Dude, I don't get it, but I also do get it, because I think that it's a mirror to a lot of people, what they lack in a lot of ways when they watch somebody do something.
You don't think that's admiration in some way?
It's a deep reflection of the lack of what they're not doing. And this goes back to what we just talked about earlier with entrepreneurs who are incredibly successful, believe that they deserve everything. And on the counter side of that, they're not worthy of what they get. And then they have that ability. It's like, that's what I think it is, dude. It's like, people know what they need to do. They just don't have the discipline to do that thing. And I also think your circle, the people that you're around, I know this is like a cliche thing to say, but like, dude, you're around people that are like thinking different. You're going to start to think different, which is why I love, like, you have a podcast. I have a podcast, and everybody's got a podcast nowadays. Like, you don't have to have 5 really smart friends that are like in your inner circle. You can have 5 friends that are on the internet that you listen to every single day.
Man. Dude, I'm so glad. I love that you said that, because they used to say that you're the average thing. I think now you can brainwash yourself to just, one of my mentors, Myron Golden, he says, you're in order for you to, basically, what you need to do with a mentor is borrow their mental syntax, their physiology, and their belief system. Those are 3 things. And you can do all of those things virtually. If you spend time listening, like I work out, it's literally a library, either motivational content or either insight, a new podcast or something. And that becomes my psyche, because that's all I listen to. That's all I read. Like, I have my books here. And then I go to mastermind groups. I'm part of masterminds. Like, you have your mastermind I was part of. I have my own mastermind. Like, I'm always learning. I'm either helping someone, learning myself, getting into these rooms. And like, how could you not? What did they say? You hang around the barbershop long enough, you'll get a haircut, right? I mean, how could you not? How could you not?
Yeah, dude.
Man? Like,
it's inevitable.
I feel like now it could just do it from YouTube podcasting. Now, there's something about proximity, because I do believe like you need to
I
see
agree.
how someone moves, etc. things. But man, you can get a long way now with technology, man.
Oh, 100%, dude. And I'm such a big advocate of that. Like, you don't have to have, and the reason why I'm even bringing that up is because I came from not a lot of stuff. I hung out with a bunch of freaking idiots for a long time. Like, I spent a lot of time doing nothing, and then finally started to get stuff, like get it. And when I mean get it, it's like that was where the personal development came in, when I started listening to like Les Brown. You know who Les Brown is, probably. Like, started listening to him, get motivated for stuff, and I was like just getting pumped to do sales, because I was in sales. And then I started listening to Tony Robbins, and I started to like look really deeply into what I was doing. Is it actually serving me? Is this allowing me to grow in a place that I need to? Am I being around the right type of people? Is this the environment that I want? It's like you start to like, and this is exactly true, man. Like, I started to absorb the content, and this is back before, I mean, I guess there was probably podcasts I didn't listen to, I was on YouTube, but like I started to absorb those conversations as if they were happening, because they were around me every single day, because I was absorbing that information. And when you start to, you said this yourself, when you start to get around people that think a certain way, will bring up scenarios like, here's how they reacted to it, dude, you will start to like inhibit and have those same type of reactions in the same way the people that you listen to do the same thing. And then how you said earlier, like, it's good to be in proximity to people. I love that too, because you realize, especially when you meet those people, that they're not very much different than you. In fact,
Dude, they're not.
They're not.
Jesse, let me tell you one thing, because I worked in a corporate in like finance, investment banking, IT. Dude, no one knows what's going on. Like, if I could just share that for a second. And how do I know this? I built an agency not knowing what was going on, by just being a man of my word and figuring it out along the way. By the way, half of these companies are doing that, and you'll start realizing as an operator too, like even some of these biggest companies, I'm like, wait, you guys are not even, you didn't even follow up. Like, you didn't do that. You didn't have a system for that. You forgot this. Yeah. Yes, because it's just people who had balls to take the risk and are figuring it out along the way. I kid you not. Yeah. You think of like I have a buddy of mine, he used to work at like one of those big 4 firms, accounting. They're doing like auditing and stuff. They're looking, I'm like, you guys are using Excel? Like, you just, there's this whole idea, like, and this is me sharing this so that like someone can listen to this and be like, you should find confidence in knowing that even some of these big like executives or big companies, like, of course they're hiring some of the smartest people, etc. But that's actually, let me go there. That's what you should be doing. Hire people who are smarter than you, or surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, because let's be honest, everyone is doing the same to close that gap. Because either people are really, really good at one thing and really poor at other things, and there's so much value that you can add, and everyone's figuring it out. And it might not feel that way when you see a big brand name or a big corporation, these big buildings, but they're just people who are captivating enough, who are charismatic, who had buy-in, and people bought into their vision, but it doesn't mean they have everything figured out at all. Yeah. And so I think that's one of my biggest things. And I'll give you an example, because I think I want to share this with you. I don't share this, because usually I'm on the other side. I'm usually interviewing people, but I want to like share this with you since we have like an open mic. My biggest blessing came when I decided to go in the complete opposite direction of where. So my blessing was on the other side of discomfort. I'll tell you this. I started my journey in real estate, and I wanted to get in proximity to. I've literally gotten proximity from a lot of different concepts, from multifamily to wholesaling to all that stuff, because I always knew I needed to go to the source. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is I want to be an investor. So before I became an investor, I'm like, hey, let me start a podcast to interview an investor. But I had this biggest like imposter syndrome. I'm like, I didn't own a piece of real estate, right? This was 10 years ago. I didn't own a piece of real estate. I'm like, how can I start a podcast about real estate when I don't own a piece of real estate? This is my limiting belief, just so you know. Mm-hmm. So I documented maybe like 60 plus episodes by myself, solo episodes. And then one day I'm just like, all right, let me just reach out to this dude. I didn't even have a formal like interview format podcast. And when I reached out to him, he's like, sure, I'd love to be on your show. This guy had 300 million assets under management, like multifamily, big time guy. First guy I had on my show. His name was Vinny Chopra. I interviewed him. And you know what never happened in all 300 plus episodes? No one's ever asked me what my portfolio size is. Why? Because it's about them. They've never asked, hey, Reuben, by the way, before we start the show, show me your resume, pal. Like, no one does that. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I was afraid of, I had this thing in my mind that how could I have a real estate show before I own real estate? That was the thing that opened up the biggest blessing. Why? Well, let me tell you. on episode 50-ish or 30-ish, I had a gentleman come on who's a super connector who's like, hey, I love what you're doing, your content. Could you do that content for us? And at the time I said, yes, I could do it. I could do it for us. I've never done it for somebody else, but I just said yes. And then that guy was a super connector. I'm talking about like Beardy Brennan type stuff, like bigger pockets, abundance, mastermind, all that stuff. All of a sudden, just from that one, me saying yes and me actually starting the podcast, you see how this is connected. I end up starting an agency that ends up doing podcasts for other people. Then on episode 91, Michael Strogan comes on and tells me about short-term rentals. I knew nothing about short-term rentals. Next thing you know, we're doing short-term rentals. And next thing you know, then we have midterm rentals that comes into the play. And that's the thing that opened up my real estate investing career. Just literally from doing the most uncomfortable thing of out of fear and lack. I'm like, I can't do this without owning real estate. It's the very same thing, very same door that opened ended up being a blessing for everything else that's open.
It's nuts how that works. Like, isn't it crazy, dude?
It's nuts.
Hey everyone, if you are feeling stuck or not like you're making the progress you want in your midterm rental journey, I've got something that can change everything for you. Imagine being part of a community that's not only supportive, but filled with like-minded individuals who are driven to succeed just like you. Whether you are just starting out, looking to take care of your business to another level, my community is designed to help you break through those barriers. We're currently opening up registration for new enrollees, so if you're serious about building a thriving midterm rental business and you want to leverage my 10,000 hours of experience, this is your chance. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn, grow, and connect with others in the same path. I hope to see you guys. The link is in the show notes, and let's build something incredible together. Let's get back to this episode. Yeah, but you got uncomfortable. And I think that right there, that's been also my growth too. It's like getting uncomfortable, like doing stuff that you don't necessarily like to do. And I tell people this all the time, and I've actually rephrased the way that I say it. I'm an introvert by nature. I don't actually call myself an introvert anymore, because what that did to me, Reuben, is it made me feel like it made me live here. And if you guys are watching this right now, I was just in this space, and it gave me a reason to be the way that I actually am. And it made me realize, like, if I say this to myself and I say this to other people, guess what?
It reinforces it.
Exactly. And I realized that super early on, actually not early on. It took me like at least 7 years of like getting into this space, especially over the last 5, where I'm just like, I got to quit saying I'm an introvert, because people relate to that because they're like, oh, Jesse's doing this. He's an introvert. But I do believe that you have to be able to turn a knob on, especially like being in this space. And everybody has a work persona. Like when you show up to work and you do things and you're probably like a little bit different. It's the same way. Like dude, when I do the summit, you've been to the summit, I have to go back to my room because I'm just talking to too many people. I got to sit in there for 30 minutes. Yeah, dude. And then I go back to it. And then I'll go back in the room again. Like I could do it. And I've done it before, but like my brain doesn't operate that. But I had to tell myself that I'm not an introvert, because I would start to define my actions based off of introvert's personality. And that was a big mindset thing for me. It's like, we are what we say, and we 100% are what we say to ourselves. And if I continue to say I'm an introvert, I'm limiting my abilities by saying, oh, that's just what an introvert does. It's just a personality type.
It's so interesting because on the other hand, right, if you flip the coin, who would you need to become to be able to do the thing? Be, do, have, right? Become the person that's willing to do the thing to then have the thing. So almost saying, I'm an investor. Okay, great. What would an investor do in this situation? Investor would, I don't know, find solutions. Or I am a problem solver. I always figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be I always find an answer, right? I think there was this show that I saw once. It's like, everything works out in my favor. Everything works out in my favor. Like, if it's so funny because I literally just had this conversation 48 hours ago. I think my buddy came to visit me, and we literally geek out on these conversations. It's like, you need to be able to pick the reality that best serves you, even if it might not be true. Does it best serve you to actually believe that everything does work out in your favor? Because then what will happen if you believe that everything will work out in your favor? You will then start to look for things and solutions to work out the challenges. Notice I didn't say problems. I'm very selective in how I speak, that you're facing, or the opportunities that you're facing. But if you see everything as a problem or see everything as an introvert, then you might say, that's not for me. Is it?
Yeah.
Who is it for then? The person you're trying to become, or the person that you're becoming, or the person that you are? You get to define all of those. So I think it's really cool because you can flip on its coin. It's like, what would the person do, or the person I'm trying to become, or screw it, the person that I am today? Because if you think about it, this is now we getting really into some real deep stuff. It's like, if you talk about like the haves versus, like, if you have something versus not having it, and you kind of remove that medium of time, you actually already do have the things that you want. You just don't, it's just the time thing that's the variable that you're removing. So now I'm getting into some deep stuff, but if you can think about, like,
Yeah.
okay, like, what would I do because I'm already that person today? Then you're becoming the person that is then ready to have the blessing or the thing you're trying to get. So you can flip that coin and, like, it can empower you as well on the other side,
Yeah.
right?
I agree to that, man. I want to go back to something you said, because I think a lot of people live in this where they're like, as I've talked to people and they're just like, oh, you're doing all these things. Like, I can't do that. Ruben, I can't do that. You got all this time now. You created your business. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have time. I'm doing this kind of stuff. And they're living in a space of, like, they're making ends meet. They're just barely making ends meet. So what would you say to somebody that, and this is where I feel like the internet, a lot of people, and this is true. Like, I think 7 out of 10 people are living paycheck to paycheck. And I might be wrong on that. Internet, correct me if I know
No,
someone's
it's,
like,
it's crazy because I just read the Art of Money, and there's another one that I'm currently reading right now by Mark and Hossel. It's The Psychology of Money, and it's an interesting conversation. Actually, I want to answer what you just asked and then I want to bring it tie it to the 6 months of reserves that he talks about. Most people don't have, which is interesting. But let's unpack the "I don't have time" question, because I think what happens is we've lost so much perspective of what having enough time is. And I recently heard this quote that people say who don't have time to, for example, work out or work on their health, will make the time when they pass away. So like, or it was something along the lines, was like, they'll find the time when they get sick or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's you have to pay your dues at some point. So,
and what a gift,
right?
to get sick.
And what an opportunity. But like, so let's talk about the not having time part, because the not having time part, if you actually unpack that, I heard someone else talk about it. I think his name was Manish, Indian guy, super smart, billionaire. And he talked about how he built his empire on the side of having his, like, high IT job. And he's like, okay, the way I looked at it, there's 40 hours in a week, right? For work, right? And he broke it down. Commute time, that's about maybe an hour and a half. Right. Then you have your personal time. And when you start to actually audit your day, you realize, like, okay, so let's be honest. Everyone's worked a 9 to 5. You're really not working for all those hours. Now, if you have a flexible job, which I actually preach about, like, I've been a consultant for a long time, and being able to actually work remotely is a hack. My gosh, that you should do it, because then you can double dip. You can kind of do all sorts of things. You actually remove the 2 hours of commute time. Some people are commuting an hour both ways.
Even outside sales gives you time to do stuff, because you can wrap your day up in 4 or 5 hours.
Yes. And especially if your job is production driven, which a lot of good companies, they actually value that. They actually are not going to, like, micromanage you. If you're doing a good job, get to that level, because then really quickly you realize that, like, you can actually have a lot of your time back, which our buddy Dan Martell here, I have read on my screen, was at your conference, talked about. But then you audit the other stuff. Are you watching a show every single night? And by the way, like, I'm all about balance. Like, I'm not here to be like this hardcore guy like David Goggins. Like, I'm all about having fun. But let's be honest, let's do a self-check. Maybe is it every single day of the week, or do you watch a show on Tuesday and Thursday with your significant other, and then Monday, Wednesday, Thursday? Like, I have days where I have my mastermind calls, it goes till 8, 9 p.m. Like, I have all these things baked into my life that I'm forced to do, that forces me to have the behavior to show up for these things, because I would look like a fraud if I don't show up to my own call. So force yourself to have those kind of things, whether it's accountability call, etc., because you will have the time. As a matter of fact, you know what? Those billionaires, they get the exact same time we got. So what do they do with it, right? So to anybody, it's interesting because I've heard the saying, I love these quotes because they just motivate me. That's why I'm, like, quoting all the time. It's like, if you want to find someone to get something done, find someone who's busy, right? Because they'll figure it out, right? We all have 24 hours in a day. So that's number one. Do an audit. And let's be honest, there's a lot of leisure that's involved. So you can find the time, but you're using that as kind of a crutch, as an excuse, because guess what? We all could say we don't have time. And I don't care if it's like, oh, it's easy for you, Ruben, you don't have kids. Or no, like, there's people who you can figure it out. There's people I'll leave you with this one saying: someone won with less than what you had, right? Yeah. Literally. If you less circumstances, less revenue, poor circumstances, bad environment,
came from another country, didn't know the English,
they won with less than what you have. So if you think about that, that should be empowering, right? But the thing that you said too about the the paycheck to paycheck, I think this is where it's funny because it's all relative. Like if you think about people when they increase their lifestyle and their costs and all that stuff, there's some people who are richer than you who have less than you because they continue to expend their overhead. They gotta get the bigger car, they gotta get the bigger home, they gotta like, and if you start doing that, even when you end up making significant jumps financially, you start realizing that you've created a trap for yourself. So I think it's easier said than done. But if you do start coming up with a plan of saying, okay, great, like here's where the focus needs to be and we need to start building on assets, right? Instead of liabilities. I think that as simple as it sounds is just an audit that needs to happen. And it's so easy now with Amazon delivery and like anything you can get from a click of a button, that spending has never been easier to spend.
It's crazy,
right?
bro.
And the best thing you can do, just like auditing your time, if you don't know how much they're spending on stuff, I got a bookkeeper, man, game changer. You could see everything. I'm like, no, there's no way we spend that much on food. Yep. There's no way. Yep. Yeah. That's got to be a typo. Nope. And that if you start realizing that, then you realize you do have enough time, and you actually do have enough money. You're just not putting in the right buckets. And if that becomes a habit, like we talked about, that's what it becomes. Now it's a reinforced habit that I spend what I have. And if I make more, I will spend that too. As opposed to if I make more, I will invest more. Because today, and just like you can help too, you don't have to wait to be a philanthropist to start giving. Like you can help with the little that you have, and that's just
even with time. Right? Yeah. Time is help. Yeah, dude. I think most people just don't look at that. And today I'm using the word most people. It's because like I have a family that has a lot of most people, and bro, I've gotten arguments with my family where I'm just like, dude, you guys don't see this. Like there's all this stuff, and I've been able to get to a point where I can normalize leaving people in the reality they choose from themselves. Like I 100%, like I have family I'm super close to, and they're just like, exactly what we're talking about today, dude, is like, you have all this time now. You got this stuff. You already made it. And I'm doing air quotes right now. You already did this stuff. And I'm just like, I got to leave you in that reality. I can't change you. That's why I don't even comment to people on the internet now, because they're never going to change that thought process.
Can you say, so this is such a good point, because family is the tough one, man. It's like the whole mindset we're talking about, like this is from years of doing a lot of like personal development work. And like you can have a bunch of different siblings come from the same household, and you choose different blueprints and or information you listen to. And all of a sudden it's kind of like you look at the, it's like, oh, okay, we all think very differently. Do you think, Jesse, that you can, so someone who's listening, go, man, like I'm on this journey where I'm trying to grow, and like my parents are telling me to be safe, and my sister doesn't believe in what I'm doing, or they're trying to, it's almost like, and I don't mean to use a poor analogy, but it's almost like the crab that's trying to crawl out of the bucket, and they're like, no, stay here, it's safe. Like, what do you think you can actually change? Do you have to make it to be able to change them along the way? Do you actually have to like almost spend, and again, everyone's situation is different. So let's not make this, oh, Jesse thinks he's a know-it-all thing. I'm just saying, like, not at all, what do you think? Like, do you think it's actually, if someone's going through that, do you think you should step away and surround yourself with people who believe in you, be the proof of concept, then come back to the family and be the proof, and then they will listen? Or B, try to embark on this journey with them, but you can't really do it? Or C, or maybe that is my C, or no, Reuben, forget about it. You can't teach old dog new tricks. You will be the example, but if they choose to come along the way, they will have to find a way. You can't do it. Like, can we help our loved ones and bring them along? Or what do you think? It's again, just an opinion, folks. He's not a, I mean, just an opinion. Yeah, I want to know what you think, because I don't know what I think. I mean, I can tell you what I'm thinking, but I want to know what you think.
Well, let's hear what you think afterwards. I believe that I think being able to look at your family and seeing that they don't believe in what you believe in or see things the way that you do is actually such a blessing, to be able to be like, I love that you guys think that way, even though you don't, but I can't absorb what you don't know. Because I'll just be super honest. Like, I came from a Hispanic family, like, obviously. And my mom's an immigrant. So like mentality there is just like, work at a job, W-2, work your way up, do your things that you got to do, stay safe. Don't put yourself in risky situations. Just keep building up the ladder. It's exactly what I was taught, dude. When I started doing things on my own, I bought my first property to put travel nurses in. My daughter called my mom and it was like, and when you call abuela, bro, that's a problem right there. She was like, my dad just bought this house. This is going to happen. We're going to be bankrupt. Like, because that's a mentality that we were taught. Even my kids were, being around around their grandparents, which are my parents. So I think there's something really powerful about realizing like, these are my people that I'm like born into, and they don't need to think the way that I do. And I honestly believe unless they start to acknowledge what you do, dude, I had my brother, and he's going to listen to this at some point. I think he like secretly listens to my podcast. He told me one time, dude, that I would not pay you $1 for your mastermind training program. This one was like $1,000, like probably when you were in it, dude. Like it was like super cheap. I didn't know my value or my worth at that time. He's like, I wouldn't give you $1. I don't know why people are paying you. That's like, when I heard that, dude, I was just like, he doesn't understand. I don't need to convince him. And that was when I started to realize, like, I got to leave people in the realities that they choose for themselves, even if it's your family. I would love for people to come along. I love family business stuff. I think it's so important, but you can't bring people along that don't want to be there. Period.
Yeah. There's so much there on that whole, like, I would never give you $1 because that hit me hard.
Yeah, bro. That's like, dude, can you imagine your brother saying, I didn't take it personal, dude.
There's two things that I want to talk about there. One is, I've heard this before, and I don't have kids yet, but like your parents see you as the kid that was like, putting food on his face, falling on his face, etc. So that paradigm doesn't change. They see it. And so part of it is, okay, like it's the only way they know how to love you. They want to protect you, because if you think about it, like our parents, like, I'm going to teach my kids the best that I know. It's going to be a little bit different because I'm an immigrant too. And like, so it's very like, okay, very traditional. This is what you need to do, blah, blah. But that's what they know is their like success of like, because that's what worked then. If you try to tell depending like a baby boomer now, like I'm going to be an influencer, they're going to be concerned because they don't know all the risks. They're like, what do you mean you're going to go all in on YouTube? Like, what do you mean? Like, they don't know what the algorithm, how it works, how much money you can make, all that. So they're coming from a place like, we don't even understand that. That's one thing. I think there's a protection thing. On the other hand, then there's sometimes, I think one of the best traits you can have is being open-minded. I think if you can have people who are open-minded, I think that's one of my wife's best traits, actually, because it's just, I think that's amazing. Like, just being able to be like, enlighten me more. Like, tell me more. Enlightening. Tell me more. Like, I think you want that. Now, if someone's got their mind made up and they're not open to receiving new information, then yeah, I think you let them. I do think there's some value in people listening once you've done the heavy lifting. When you pull up and you close on this big thing, or you're throwing these big events, it's like, oh, like, okay, now I'll listen, right? Sometimes that needs to happen because they just see you as like, yeah, sure, you're talking about it. And sometimes, so I wouldn't discredit, because I know that happened in my family too. Like, oh yeah, Reuben, real estate. But now it's like, no, like, let's pay attention because there's something going on here. And sometimes it'll be like, first they'll laugh at you, then they'll this, and then they'll ask, hey, how can I be involved? And you want to get to that.
How do I get a job doing that?
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that. I think it's just the way it is. Like, I think if you don't get in your feelings about it, for anybody who's listening, and it's like, this is like happens to all of us in the reality. Like, anytime you're breaking out of the norm or anything that's traditional, there's two things. Either they're trying to protect you, they don't know any better, they're worried for you, or they just haven't had that awakening, right? Like, I can't tell my family how much I spent on personal development, because it's like, what do you mean you spent?
Tell them, bro.
You could have bought like what? Like what? Like,
could have bought a house in Cincinnati for $100,000.
No, for a mastermind. Yeah. Like, what is that? But when you start getting results, then hopefully you can be like, hey, remember that mastermind? Hey, remember all that time you remember how I was telling you, use your time wisely, or not? Not like I know it all, but like, remember, like, hey, here are the receipts. Like, I'm very receipts driven. Like, I want to be able to show you, and then hopefully that gets the attention. And that's why sometimes you'll see a lot of these gurus. The reason, like, a lot of gurus, and I use that word like lightly, because, whether you're a subject matter expert, respectfully, I love people who coach. I love people who do that. But the reason why people turn to like luxury cars and like watches and all those things is because that will get someone's attention. Like, the kids, especially the youth, like, you pull up in a Ferrari and then you start talking about assets over liabilities. Now you have my attention because I want the thing you got. And I think it's smart. I think sometimes it's overused, but I think sometimes that's the only way, because if they don't see that, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the only way. It's one of the many ways that is effective, because sometimes people need to see things to believe them. And I think that's why I see value sometimes when people do that. And I don't hate on it. It's like, just sometimes I think you attract a certain kind of crowd when you do that.
Yeah.
But I do think there's value in showing, hey, listen, maybe it's not the car, maybe it's the lifestyle. Hey, by the way, like I go on vacation with my family all the time. Like, how are you able to do that? Let me show you. Now they'll listen because they have the thing on the other side. So hopefully, like, you should never feel alone, because there's people out there who are looking for those people who are basically trying to break out of the matrix, right?
Yeah, bro. You said something earlier. I want to make sure I hit on. I think some of the greatest, like how I could tell if somebody's intelligent is their ability to change their mind. And it could be politics. It could be something that they thought about. It could be something that they once truly believed, and they start to think on the other end. Dude, that to me is incredible intelligence. When you have the ability to like be very steady on what you believe, and then all of a sudden get new information and change that belief system or change that opinion. Dude, that's a powerful place to be. And I'm glad that your family picked that up and they started to understand that, because they're intelligent in that way. Because that's like, you've now got information, you're gathering it. Not everybody has that luxury, but dude, that's for me one of the biggest signs of intelligence, is watching somebody change their ideology, the way they think, and on a new opinion based off of new information. Period.
You know what's so interesting about what you just said, and thanks for sharing that, because that kind of echoed. I'm like, ooh, like intelligence is the ability for someone to get new information and change their mind rather than being stubborn. I think there's two things that happen too, and this is actually, I'd love to hear your thought on this, because let's say, for example, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Let's do it.
Let's say, and this is very important, because what happens, I think sometimes people try to just stay true and like, no, this is the best thing, because it's almost like sunk cost bias. I think this is what happens actually, right? Like you spend $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 on a degree, and you're like, no, the sunk cost bias is saying, because I spent money on that, therefore I must stay to do the thing that got me there. That's not good if you have new information that says, you know what, you might actually not, like it was a phase in your life. It was a stepping stone. I don't ever say it's any time a waste of time. I never use that, because I think everything is meant to be the next stepping stone. But if you have new information, say, hey, you know what? This was my career, but now I'm in a new season where I think I can take this skill set because I have new information. I believe this will serve me and my family better. Do it. Do not fall for the sunk cost bias where it's kind of like, no, like I'm not going to throw this master's degree away, etc. I must stick with this if it ain't working no more, right? Like, and that's why I always say, like, that level of awareness of like, to everyone who has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Like, have that broad like curiosity, and be, surround yourself in those rooms where their tool belt is just filled with hella tools, where they're like, they see the world differently. Like that's my goal. Like I want to see the world differently. And now, reason I was going to put you on the spot, because I'm like I always say I'm in this journey of temporary housing, midterm rentals, because I don't know what the world might like. I don't know. Like I once thought I was a bigger pockets guy that was going to just do house hack on one hand, and then I got a new piece of information. I'm like, wait a minute, short-term rental. I hadn't done the math, and then I'm like, wait a minute. You mean I can work with corporations instead of these Airbnb guys?
Yeah.
So I got new information and I pivoted, but I didn't say I'm an Airbnb guy. And like, it goes back to the thing you're saying, like, it's also important for you to be careful on like how you define yourself. If you say if you're an introvert, then you're not going to be open to an opportunity to that extroverts get. And so I think what I was going to ask you is like, do you see, like, you've built an amazing empire and like the platforms and the people and the connection and network. But if for whatever reason you got new information and the marketplace shifted or whatever, you're like, MTRs are no longer the highest ROI. This is kind of it's kind of a comment, a question. Do you feel that you would say, like, because I think people, they spent so much time building an identity, especially online, and then you got to like almost now say, hey, by the way, this is no longer me. But I think that would be so valuable. And I would value that so much, to be like, hey guys, this was a phase of my life, and now I'm seeing that this is a better opportunity. So yeah, I know you guys know me as this guy, but by the way, I'm Jesse Vasquez, and I get to make these executive decisions in my life. And now now I'm buying businesses, right? Like, what do you think about A, future, and B, how hard it is to pivot these days when we got like, oh, but you have 1,000 YouTube videos, Jesse, like, what happened to those? Like, what's your take on that? I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, I do. I believe that that's a sign of intelligence to be able to leave. That's also growth. Like that's being able to, this served me at one point, no longer does anymore. And maybe this isn't what my path, dude, people are going to change. Like, how many different versions of yourself have you been since you're 18 years old?
Oh, dude.
I
Yeah.
mean, so for me, I don't actually think of myself as a real estate guy. I think of myself as more an entrepreneur. Like, I don't think people
Mm.
actually know the stuff that I think I'm good at the in between, the small stuff. I just happen to attach to midterm rentals. I'm known as the MTR guy. Do I want to be that guy forever? Dude, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to grow past this, and I'm creating software right now. Like, I'm maybe going to be a software guy. Like, so there's a lot of different, dude, no, that's evolving. That's turning
I
into
love that. No,
something
we
new.
need to hear that because someone may hear that and be
Yeah.
like, where are some areas in my life where I've put myself in a box?
Yeah. And you are going to morph. You are going to change. You are going to become somebody else. You're going to outgrow certain things. They might no longer work. And now you're moving into a new position. Maybe, the government comes in and says, no, anybody staying for 30 days or more, you are now going to be like, we're going to cancel those. You're not going to do that anymore. Just like with short-term rentals. What if that happens? And then what? So there's always a way to pivot into something else. And I think what's really cool about what you and I do, I thought about this as a TV show. I was actually just talking to somebody about it, dude. I love this idea. Hang with me for a minute. Dude, imagine, Ruben, you're walking down the road with your wife or something. Your wife already knows about this. And, like this. Have you ever watched the movie Old School? Have you ever watched that
No.
with like Will Ferrell? Okay, cool.
I'm
They
like,
all,
I'm the worst movie person.
oh, dude, come on. I'm going to show you the scene right now. So they have this like 70s, like crazy looking bus. It looks like a rapist van or something. Like you would have, I'm trying to have everybody picture this. This dude's at the mall and this truck just pulls up and these guys with like, freaking masks on grab this dude and they throw him in a truck, blindfold him, and then they take off. Like my goal would be to do that to you, Ruben, blindfold you, and then drop you off in the middle of Iowa somewhere, saying, "Hey, dude, you have no money. You got to figure out your entire life from here.
Oh,
You have
dude.
120 days to build a $100,000 business.
Isn't that
We're
what
going to
Grant
be."
Cardone did with the thing?
Yeah, well, kind of, but this is like more like, yeah, you're right. That one video, but this is more of like you're gonna be captured. Like they don't know what's gonna happen. All of a sudden, you get in this thing and they're like, "Hey, you're in this TV show. Like this is gonna happen to you right now. We're dropping you off in the middle of somewhere. You got to figure it out." That was all planned. Like they had times like think about it. They're gonna be dropped into space, and like who knows what actually happened behind the scenes of that. Undercover Billionaire, I think that was what that was called.
Yeah, that's right. Undercover Billionaire. Yeah.
But this is like not billionaires. These are people that are like, building brands or that dude, I feel like I can be dropped in the middle of Iowa somewhere and I'll figure out somehow how to make money. And I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to the formalities that most people have. I didn't get a college education. Most people that get college educations get the education they get because they're trying to appease their parents. It's not even actually the thing that they want to do. So they're putting themselves in debt just to appease their family to a certain degree. So like, you don't have to have the traditional stuff. I believe that you could just have, ambition. And where do you get that? Is that something you're born with? Is that something that you inherit? Is that something you learn? And like, where does that actually come from? And I think that right there is more of the, the self-reflection, self-talk of like, am I meant for more? And you talked about earlier about people that live in that scarcity mindset of like, I can't get, I'm not going to be able to make money. I'm not going to be able to do this. I believe everybody's just one skill away from a totally different life. It's just them putting the time and energy in to actually fulfill on that skill that may be out there. And again, going back to the whole theme of this conversation today, YouTube, podcasts, like there's so much readily available information because we live in one of the greatest eras of all time to absorb new things and to have new skills. Like that's how you start to build something is you just start to stack skills, period.
Dude, what would you say? This is so good. I love that you said that, especially because we were talking about speed, right? Like we talk about, I think back then you could be a carpenter and like nothing would change for the next 30 years, or masonry or whatever it is that you do, right? Now, kind of what I said, the sunk cost bias thing is so much more important for you to have that like reflection point of like, and humility of like, hey, like, I think this season is closing. And the reason I say that, for example, AI is a perfect thing. You're like, hey, like, I'm not outbeating this bot. Like I should probably learn a new skill because my job is gonna be obsolete soon. What would you say if I'm right? I could be 100% wrong. That's just how I'm seeing the world right now. I think it's actually, I will double down on what I just said. Actually, industrial revolution and all that was a certain amount of time. Then the tech world came. Then the information age came, and etc. And all those timelines are actually getting smaller and smaller. Like from the time that there's this new thing, like .com to like time is being compressed. So basically, because time is being compressed, my thing that I'd love to know your thought on this, Jesse, is like, if you're talking to someone who's listening, who's super young, You can define that. I think we're all young hearted, whatever, in your 20s, 30s, 40s. I feel like there's time, 50s, 60s, whatever.
Yeah.
You say skills. What does that actually look like right now? Like if you have some time, because we all have time, we can all make the time. What would you be actually focusing on? Because you said, I love this, I've never heard it before. You're just one skill away. Almost reminds you of like Russell Brunson. We're one funnel away. You're one skill away. What does that tactically look like? I hear you, but what would you do today? What do I start doing?
Yeah, well, it depends on who you're talking to. If it's somebody in their early teens, I believe that the younger generation has no idea about soft skills, and that's like being able to communicate with people, being able to open your hand and saying, "Hey, how you doing? My name's Jesse. It's nice to meet you." That skill right there was burned into me as a child, bro. Like I had to become that person. And the more kids that I meet that are younger these days do not have that kind of understanding of those kinds of things. If I was young today, I would really say get into sales because it's going to put you in a position where you're able to earn as much money as you want based off of the skill that you're going to learn. That's going back to what we just talked about right now a minute ago, soft skills. Being able to meet somebody, being able to see something they may be into, being able to have an open conversation about something, being able to talk about feelings, being able to talk about stuff that most people aren't able to do. And then I would really start to double down, dude, on like, what am I already good at? Like where are my skills already set? Am I a good people person? Cool. What kind of stuff is attached to that? We just talked about sales. What do people or customers want today? Like what is that kind of like, what's a niche market that I can attach that to? Start thinking about those things. What's a simple skill that I could build in 30 to 90 days from now? Like, is that learning AI? If I was a young person now, which I'm 43, bro, like go learn how to AI. In fact, I'm building a software on a channel called Replit. Like, I don't know anything about AI, dude, but I'm using AI to build software. Like, I'm doing that. I don't have no idea. Like, I'm learning it as I go. So there's so much stuff that you can do. And like, how many hours are you willing to commit to this? Like, how many hours are you willing to do that? So I think there's so much out there for people, dude, right now to learn and to pick up. And a lot of it goes back to simple things that are like soft skills. Now, if I'm talking to somebody in their 30s or 40s, that's going to be a different conversation, right?
Why do you think that's different?
Because they're now in the point of their life. I feel like your 20s are like, and this is me personally, even though I did have a daughter when I was 21 years old. 20s are like, you know how you physically go through puberty when you're a teen, 15, 16, 17, you're physically changing, your voice is changing, all these kinds of things. 20 to 30, to I believe for a lot of people is like a mental puberty. You're trying to figure out who you are, what you're doing, who your identity is, what you're attaching to. Like you're starting to figure those things out. 30 to 40, dude, is like, you've kind of come into space. You probably got some skills in your 20s, maybe doing multiple different jobs or things that you might have understood, and you kind of understand your path sort of ish. And 40s is like, for me now, it's redefining and not caring about the things that I normally would care about in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is like, I don't care what people think. And I stopped doing that a long time ago. I'm very like we just talked about earlier in this conversation of like being aware of a lot of things, dude. I'm learning so much more about myself in my 40s, like the self-reflection piece that I never would have otherwise been able to understand in my 30s. Yeah, totally. Wow. Totally. A different perspective and different ideas, different thought process. I'm getting a lot more soft. Like that's for sure, dude. Like, and I don't mean like pudgy. I mean like soft in the sense of like not as hard or not as like intense masculine as I once was. Like I'm starting to see things in a different way, in a different light, where I think there's like skills that are just like, before I'd be like, oh, just suck it up, dude. You're like, quit being a sissy. Like now I'm like, oh, cool. Like what's going on? What's happening? What's making you feel this certain? Like, well, I just understand.
Yeah, that's called wisdom.
Yeah, that. And not everybody's going to be like, I think that those pieces are just so important. But man, yeah, I do believe that everybody's just one skill away. And it could be something as simple as just like being able to go into a crowd and introduce yourself to get that skill down. And then you start to do that in different ways. Reuben, you are in this position right now because we have been able to walk up to somebody and say, hey, how you doing? My name's Reuben. Cool. What city are you in? What are you doing? Like it's that skill that you learned a long time ago that allows you to get on a podcast and talk about these things and do all this stuff. It's that. And like, if you like dissect everything and you just bring it out at what its core, it's just like you wanting to be curious about the world and people and ideas, but you were limiting yourself by your own thoughts by saying, I don't have real estate. I can't do this. I don't have this. I can't do that. I don't have that. But if you think about the core of what it actually is, it's your curiosity, which actually allows you to be this guy that you are today. And that's where I think like the magic's actually at, is in that space.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a wisdom podcast, bro. What's going on here right now?
I mean, this is all that matters. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about these days. Like all the tactical stuff, you can figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, I think one of the things that I would say to piggyback what you said, agree 100% with what you said, but I would double down again on that proximity of like,
Yeah.
I would, it's funny. We talk a lot about like entrepreneurship. I think sometimes is our community is very misleading in the sense of like, don't work for the man, etc. No, dude, like if I'm seeing Jesse is crushing it, I want to get into like some kind of midterm rental temporary housing. I want to work with a company. I always say find. I say this all the time because I'll go back like to my alma mater and I'll speak to people and kids. I love working with kids and stuff. And it's like, dude, like who would you trade places with? And you know how many people can't answer that? Like that means that you don't have someone that you aspire to be like. To me, that's hard for you to have a compass where you want to go. Because if I would trade places with you, Jesse, and I admire you, okay, great. Let me get in proximity to the dude. Try to see if I can even be a referral partner or join his mastermind, run the mastermind, offer. And this is where people struggle with like, how do I add value? Well, first of all, I just told you that half of the people don't have this stuff figured out. So if you care enough, especially with technology these days, you'll probably find a gap. Hey, I called your office 5 times and no one picked up. Here's a great resource. By the way, like you guys need someone to have a lot of years doing being an admin assistant. I'm happy to be a contractor. I love what you're doing. By the way, this was my favorite episode. This was that. By the way, I love it. Oh, this person actually knows my brand and cares. Yeah, why don't I give you a shot? Because I actually do need someone to pick up. Like things like that. And then you get in proximity and then you learn from that person. And because you're such a giver, you would be willing to have someone like you don't care if someone outgrows their role. I know I don't. I'm always saying, hey, listen, like if you want to do the thing, like here's the path. And by the way, along the way, I would love to be able to be on this journey with you. And then when our time is spent together and you want to take your talents to another place, like my EA, actually, I've been with him for 3 years. He learned so much working together that now he's going to do his own thing and God bless his soul. Like, and so I would say proximity, man. Like I would go if I'm young. First of all, a lot of people like you and I see a little bit of themselves in the person.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
And so I think you have this unique advantage. There's a bunch of, speaking of Cody Sanchez, business being sold, etc. Who do you think, if you come in and you're that dude and you're over delivering, etc., you don't think you have a seat at the table to be able to like, hey, this young, fresh blood that came in, by the way, I want to exit the business and I kind of want an annuity. So here's the split. Give me a 20% haircut. I'm actually going to give you the business. I'm not going to sell it to you. You're going to do seller financing because you came in super hungry. You learned from me. You saw how I did this, blah, blah. Like these are opportunities that are here that exist that I would get in proximity of the person that's doing the thing that you want to do. And then going back to what my mentor says, borrow their mental syntax, borrow their physiology. How do they shake hands with people? How do they work a room? And borrow their belief system. Dude, and you do that possibly in a sales role, like you said, then you got all of the above. And then stay curious. I would say these tools like this, it's so interesting because I'm usually on the other side and it forces me to listen. It forces me to be patient in the way I'm thinking about my thoughts. I see sometimes when I'm saying something, you're writing down like, oh, let's unpack this later. And it forces you to be very attentive. It forces you to communicate, and communication is listening. It forces you to have a conversation with someone and it builds connections. Like I think podcasting is probably, or even whatever this is, a live podcast is one of the most underrated tools because a lot of important people who are not on the Forbes, top 30 on the 30, 40, whatever, they've done amazing things and no one's talking about them, that they would give you the time of day to talk about themselves because people love to talk about themselves. And what do? You ask questions that you have questions about and that you're curious about. And if you end up building a community outside of that because you actually have listenership, icing on the cake. Me, I could care less about my listenerships, my listens and my downs. I'm just fostering these amazing relationships online with people from all over the world, and they turn into relationships and doors open because if they don't know you, they can't flow you, and opportunities happen. So, man, I think it's like what a time to be alive. I love that. Skills, you're just one skill away. I'm gonna take that. I love that.
Yeah. Dude, I don't believe people really understand that. I tell my kids that all the time. Like, you're literally just one skill set away from like a totally different life, and people don't look at it like that. They just don't understand it. But I think it's really important to do those kinds of things, man. But what's your thoughts, Reuben, on we didn't really get a whole time to dive into midterm stuff, which I think today it's actually good because people can go watch your content, my content, they can figure all that stuff up.
Yeah.
This stuff here, I think, is more important because you're able to extract ideas, concepts, thought patterns. Like these kinds of conversations right here, Reuben, behind closed doors are my favorite conversations to absorb because you literally get to think, you get to start to see how people think. And this is what I love most about this is that if I had a different idea, going back to the ability of being able to change your mind on a lot of stuff, you might have said something in this conversation. I might have said something that people are like, oh, interesting. I'm going to dive into that. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. And they're now on that path of changing their idea or their thought process based on information they were absorbed. That is 100% the form of intelligence. Like that's what I think intelligence is, dude. Yeah. It's not about, can I be honest with you, dude? I think smarter people, they overthink things, and a dumb person like myself is going to outperform that person because I'm not going to sit around and think about something enough. Yeah. Cause I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And that's the one thing that smart people, when I say smart, I'm talking like book smart, intelligent in that space where they'll just
they're analyzing, they're foreshadowing the risks, blah, blah, blah. What if this happened? They're just too, can someone stop? Like if someone's listening to this and that's them, like, is that like, I mean, everything is figure outable, and you can, I shouldn't say like, are you born this way? Cause I think that's not true. I think you said it, like you can be an introvert and then say, I identify as an introvert. So what's the pulse check with someone if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, that kind of like sounds like me. I need to know everything before I get started. Like, can we give them a hack? Is there a hack, or do we just kind of know because we just know? Like, how do you? What would you say? Because you have this wisdom now.
I have this wisdom now. It's with all the gray hair, bro. I think you have to be able to be self-aware enough to realize that you're actually doing that. And the second that you realize that you're doing that, that's the hack that you need to have. It's like being able to be aware that I'm going to think about a midterm rental in whatever market. I'm going to continue to like do the work around that a billion different times when you already did it once or twice or three times and you already know what the result is, but now you're continuing to do it. And I think people do that because they're actually scared of what the reality of that may become if their plans actually turn into what they believe they will become. I think that a lot, dude.
Wait, like, so you're saying we're scared of becoming the thing that we want?
I truly believe that, dude. Why? I think people are, I think that a lot of intelligent people like that are smart like that are actually scared of what will happen if they do that thing. So they put themselves in this self-preservation loop of doing this thing so that they don't actually have to, they might not even become that. So they just keep themselves. It's almost like a safety mechanism that people have to keep themselves in this space. Like, dude, how many times, Reuben, have you talked to somebody and they're like, I need to have a website. I need to have this. I need to have a card. I need to have a business card.
It's self-sabotage, you're saying, in a way?
Yes, dude. It's a way of like, I don't actually really want to do these things. I mean, I do, but like, I'm going to continue to live in this circle of these things because if I actually do it, then I might need to become this person that needs to be this thing. And like, they don't want to do that thing that's entitled.
So they don't want to become the person.
I feel that.
So you know what? Let's provide some solutions. I think if someone thinks that way, because I can't even imagine. And I think this is the reason why, because I heard of one of these favorite quotes is, it's not about you, it's about who loses if you don't win. I think if those people made it about what happens if I win around me, I think maybe that changes a little bit. And again, maybe it's selfish if you are just thinking about what happens if I actually do get the thing that I want. Well, why don't you reframe and say, what happens if I actually achieve the thing that I want? Who do I impact and who wins along the way? Like, one of the things that I love, bro, is, and I admire this, love him or hate him because of like sports and stuff. People have their fans. Like LeBron, like what I admire is like him bringing his posse on. Like, there's nothing like, if you make it by yourself, like you achieve financial freedom and you're like, hey bro, you want to come on this trip? And it's like, nah, bro, I got work.
Yeah.
What's the point? But if you can be like, yo, man, I know you've been killing at this company and I've gotten to the point where I'm actually hiring C-suite level. I would love to be on this journey together, bro. Like, I got this position open. Or, hey bro, which is what LeBron did, I want to give you an opportunity to be my agent. Here's a course you should take. And like, obviously we just talked about family. Maybe it's not your family. Maybe it's your homies. But like, are you in a position where you can actually give somebody that you love an opportunity? Because then, if you think about that, well, not when you wake up, and people have kids, and some people have, family and all that stuff, but like maybe it's because people are just thinking about themselves, and so therefore it's almost selfish for you to just be like, well, if I achieve this, I. Well, what happens if you achieve this thing and now it's a we? Maybe that's the
Mhm.
thing. I'm just thinking out loud here, bro.
You know
Thoughts?
what? I wrote this down, dude. I think the real truthful piece of this, because I have students that are like this, where it's just like they're trying to figure everything out. And I'm like, I start to recognize it. It's almost like they have to give themselves permission to do the thing. Like they don't think they deserve it. They have to like literally say, can I actually do this thing? Can I give myself permission to do this? And I think it's so cool, man, when you start to when somebody unlocks that for themselves, or you get to watch it or be a catalyst of that space. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about this. If you guys can see it. I love watching somebody, dude, go from the person that they didn't think they could become to the person that they start to become to the person that they ultimately need to be to do that thing that they said they were going to do. And it all goes back to this specific thing here of like, am I going to give myself permission to do this? Am I going to sabotage my own space to grow in a way? Am I going to give myself so much information that I'm going to limit my own abilities? That's a superpower to recognize that. And I think so many people are not self-aware enough to even be able to pick that up, dude. I truly, truly believe that. You know what I mean?
So then just do the deep work.
I think it's important. I mean, just being able to like realize or recognize that this is the pattern that I'm doing. And it's like, I did this with this. I did this with that. I did this with like people that are overanalyzing with things. They do it with everything in relationships, their friendships, their like, it's part of their overall arching ecosystem. It's just how they are wired. And I think again, when you recognize that, you're able to be like, okay, cool. And then going back to intelligence, being like, can I change my mind on this? Can I change my habits on this? Right? Because we talked about entrepreneurship and the hustle, like those are habits, right? What can I change that can be something? Instead of analyzing something 10 times, I'm only going to do it twice. I'm going to make movements on that. I don't need a business card to start off with. I don't need a website to start off with. I can just talk about doing it now and then reiterate later. I think so many people don't realize that.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm trying to give someone something to hold on to after they listen to this. Do you think then? And again, I'm not gonna put one solution, but like, I'm curious, like, is it like then a mentor where they need to borrow the belief system from, or someone to tell them, or like, what do you think kind of flips that switch on for or from what you've seen? Because I know you have a big mastermind too. And again, I really want to preface, like, we're not pushing any agenda here. I'm just actually having a conversation. I'm so curious, like, do they need to listen to better information, better books? Do they need to join a mastermind? Do they need to ask themselves and write down a piece of paper, free 99, what do I want? Like, what is it that you think helps? And again, I'm sure everything is different for other people, but like, we're gonna come up with a few bullet points. What do you think is a good thing, exercise, or thing for them to begin doing to be able to unlock themselves?
I think community is probably the first one, to be able to see somebody 2 steps below you or 1 step, 2, 3 steps above you,
That
and to be able
looks
to
like you.
it looks like you, acts like you, talks like you, same circumstance, same situation. What are they doing? And how do you like now communicate with them? Like, get in their ecosystem, start having accountability calls. Like, I think those kinds of things are so important. I think I think a lot of people look at mentorships and like, oh, that's stupid. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to figure that out. That's dumb. I don't want to be, dude. Communities, like, I have my pre-recorded stuff. All that stuff's crap. It's garbage. Like, go be in the community. That's what's more important. Like, that is the best part of what we do. Reuben, your community too, probably. Yeah, people can go A, B, C, X, Y, Z. They can figure this out. They need to call this person. Yeah, okay, cool. But that community piece, I think, is the most important because you're able to connect with people. So that would be my first thing, is like, find people that are like-minded, that are wanting to create, that are even like-minded in the sense of like they get stuck. How are they resolving that position where they're getting information, then changing their habit to do the next thing? What are they doing? How can you be a part of that? How can you watch that thing happen? There's something magical about watching somebody in your same place do this one thing. It could be picking up the phone and dialing Amazon for the first time, and it feels uncomfortable, and you have that pit in your stomach, and you're doing it anyway. And you realize, like, dude, this is not as hard as I thought. And you start to stack those little things up. That brings confidence. That starts to bring so many different things. And it's just, bro, that's where I think it's at. It's really in those spaces, like, in my personal opinion. What about you? What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think it goes back to what you just said. I think community is good because you'll see. I think sometimes the only thing to be careful with I shouldn't say be careful, but I think to keep in mind, like, with someone who's too high level, like it's been so long since they were in your shoes. Honestly, our minds trick us and thinking that, oh, it was always this way. Like, dude, no, it wasn't, dude. That was 10 years ago. Remember,
Yeah.
we used to have newspapers. Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, they
Yeah.
don't even mean it. And so I think what happens in the communities, you'll have what you just said, Jesse, like, you'll have the person's like, oh, you got a 9 to 5 too? Bro, you closed the deal with a 9 to 5. Tell me, because man, I was like trying to block out my lunches and like, yeah, this is how I do it, bro. Like, oh, so now you have someone you can kind of actually relate with that's like, okay, so this is actually possible. And then you have the person who's like 5 levels up. He's like, yeah, man, I was in my 9 to 5 like 6 months ago and I quit. I'm like, what? Like, tell me how. Well, I did
Yeah.
this and I got this VA. What's a VA? Oh, virtual assistant. Oh, okay, cool. So now I can relate to this guy or that gal and this gal or this guy. And then there's like the guy or the gal or whoever who's the mentor that did it like maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And that's good too, because they have a whole bird's eye view of like, hey, I remember doing that. Don't do that. Like, hey, I was there before. Hey, I remember when I used to think like that. Think big picture. But then you also have the community of people along the way who are like, hey, he's like, he lives in my neighborhood, or she lives in my neighborhood, or we drive the same car, got a new car, or didn't get the new car, invested, and oh, cool. Like, I'm going to run that play. And by the way, let's hang out. And then you find your tribe. And I think that's so important, because then the tribe is the people you spend time with who will then elevate you as well. But I think you try to do it on your own. Some people, by the way, learn through YouTube, man. Like, don't sleep on that. You can do that too, because you're spending time with a person, you're getting insight. So I think you got to find your community. I think proximity. I think it's not or community, it's and community.
Yeah.
Find yourself that YouTube channel, find yourself a mentor and community. All of the above, I think that can help. And by the way, you don't have to go far. Guess what? The thing we sleep on, and I think maybe I mentioned it and I didn't put a loop on this. When you find a job, be intentional in the job, because it could be the boss that you work with that's actually a company that you actually enjoy working with, where you get all the insights and skills from that you actually enjoy and respect. And by the way, I know so many people have quit their jobs who kept really good relationships, and maybe your CEO ends up being your investor in your deal. And again, maybe it's related to real estate, maybe it's not related, but I think you can be very intentional. And I think sometimes we're not intentional about where we go to school, about if we go to school, about what job we pick. Do we pick the first one that picks us, or we're actually intentional and we've done the research and be like, oh, this guy started the business with his brother. I have a brother. That's really neat. And I connect. Oh, he went to this school and then he did this. I'm going to learn from a guy that did this and that, or a gal that did this and that, because those are my core values. Oh, he's a family oriented person. Oh, he believes in, or she believes in, a work-life freedom, and I want those things too. I want to work with someone or for someone that embodies those values, because I'm sure it'll trickle down in the organization. Like, being very intentional about, what that is that you're doing today, without having all figured it out down the road, but even having a very clarity now, I think is very key and intentional on who you spend your time with, because you're going to spend a lot of time at work. You're going to spend a lot of time in that community. And I think, like I said, man, you spend enough time in the barbershop, you get a haircut, you get a fresh cut.
That's absolutely true, man. Dude, today, this is one of my favorite podcasts I've done in a long time, Ruben. Actually, it's the longest too. Look at this. What are we, 60, 70 minutes into this thing? This is we're like turning into Alex Hormozy over here, bro. 4-hour podcast and stuff. That's
crazy. It's funny because this is another thing. If you find your tribe, like, it doesn't even feel like work, man. It doesn't, like, this felt. You could have told me you had gone for 40 minutes and I would have believed you. I really do. Like, 22 is crazy. And bro, let me give you your flowers on the air, bro. Like, this is like a testament to your work. Like, I'm a sponge, right? So like, when I heard you had a mastermind or course, I'm like, I can learn from this guy. And I did. I learned tons from you, and you have a great community. And when I say had, it's because I'm not actively involved. You still have this community, and it's amazing. It's so funny because actually, when we got on the air, is because I learned so much from you that I'm implementing in my business now, and I'm so far removed that, like, I got like, and you know how it happened? I got an escalated because sometimes when we have a new vendor, I'm the administrator on the Chase account. My bookkeeper does all the thing, and we have property names. I don't have a name. And so the associate is like, we're doing a deal together, like where our company kind of sourced and to fund you guys. And the lady on the phone is like, yeah, so are you sending X amount of money to Jesse Vasquez? And I'm like, I only know one Jesse. I'm like, hold on, let me look. And the property's from California. I'm like, of course. So I pinged my team. I'm like, or who the agent that was working on it. Shout out to Terry. And I'm like, hey, dude, you know that's Jesse's property. Or I'm like, oh yeah, I know Jesse. I'm like, yeah, like that's cool. Like I don't know if you knew that, but I just
I didn't even know, bro.
What's that?
When you told me that, I went and looked. I didn't even know. Like I didn't even know
that because it was just in the queue of approval, like wires that we were sending.
Yeah.
And that one got stuck in there, and it was like, "Are you sending this to Jesse Vasquez?" I'm like, "We are." I'm like, "I guess we are." Yeah, we are. Yeah. And because I was the property, it matched up, so that was fun and funny. But I want to give you your flowers because you basically mastered a skill set and you're still learning and doing amazing things from this community. And I was able to tap into that. Like, I know I'm all about speed. If someone's done the legwork and I can learn from them, I'm not stubborn to think, like, oh, I'm going to do it my own way. No. So I invest in your mastermind, great community. We've touched base ever since. I found you on a podcast. And a lot of the principles that I've learned are, a testament to the stuff that you've shared. So if there's anyone, like, I'm a true believer of, I love to pay for access. Don't be afraid to pay for community, but pay for knowledge the exact same way you've gotten your degrees. Like this ROI stuff on this contract and all the stuff we're doing, any mastermind I paid, it pays itself back tenfold. Because
100%.
if you do the work, it's funny because when you look at it as an investor, like when you think of like the ROI, and by the way, I'm not the type of guy that will come on here and be like, oh, school wasn't worth it. It was. I met my wife there, my business partners. I squeezed the juice out of school. I'm the type of person, I'm gonna make the best of it.
You got residual value. You got the residuals.
Residual value still kicking in. But when you think of like the ROI, so those of you who are not looking at the ROI like of school, like it takes a little while. And I think what happens in the age of information, if you have information that you can implement and you do the work and you have a community that can help you, that ROI you can make back within the quarter if you're a go-getter. Like even faster. Like I can't even tell you. And by the way, I don't just learn from you, Jesse. I learn from my Dr. Rachel Gainsbury. I learn from Michael Shogren. I'm in Rich Summers Mastermind. Those are all friends now. Like me and Noble kicked it in Texas when we created relationships because we respect each other, right? And I want you to change that mindset because even if it came from your own brother, I want to challenge that. But like I pay my friends all the time. As a matter of fact, I have a buddy of mine, like he is like an analytical guy. I'm like, dude, I know we're bros, but like I'm paying you for your time. Send me the link because I want that mutual respect. Like I respect what you've built. If anything, I want to show you that I respect that. So I'm going to learn from my peers all day long. And I want to say, Jesse, you're one of my peers, brother. And like, I've learned so much from you. I love your community. I love what you're doing. So thanks for doing that. Because if people don't do that, I know back then it was harder to get that information. Now, like half of the stuff, like I got 1,000 videos on YouTube. Like you can learn a lot.
I know,
by just going on there. And so, but I learned that because I'm like, I learned from guys like you who are doing it or sharing and like having this abundance mindset to share. And so I just really want to commend you because you're really helping a lot of people out there and people who are not commenting, people who haven't hit the subscribe button. There's people you're changing lives, including mine. And I encourage you to take care of yourself first, put the oxygen mask on first. But whenever you get back into that, that season, that it is appreciated on the other side for those. We happen to be the beneficiaries of it. And I happen to be one as well. So I want to give you my flowers on the ear.
Yeah, bro. And kudos to you for building what you're doing and getting my property book. So I appreciate that. That's the power of community right there, you guys. Like he got a property in Aptos, probably to a really good family that's needing to be there because they lost their home. And dude, I think that's powerful, dude. And that's what community does. And I appreciate you for saying those words. I think that's sometimes we need to hear those things. I know that I do. I forget stuff sometimes, like accomplishments and things and all that stuff. So I get pumped every time I hear, especially somebody that's growing a business like you. I mean, you're doing freaking awesome stuff. And so yeah, dude, you're doing all things. And I'm glad that we're connected. I'm glad you showed up and you got to steal my 10,000 hours. I think that's one of the greatest hacks on the planet, dude. Reuben, where can people go find you if they want to check out your stuff?
Reuben Kanya, that's my name, RUBNKNYA. If you put it on LinkedIn or Instagram, one thing, if you speaking of education, if you don't want the learning to stop, you go to experimentrealestate.com/connect. You can see all my free resources there. I love to give a lot of game. And then if you ever want to, look for the education stuff, you'll be able to find it. But otherwise, man, just it's out there for the world. And hopefully if I can help somebody, create what Jesse's created and do the same and create a bridge and create a relationship. That's why I do what I do, just to create as many relationships, because you can never have too many friends. So hopefully we can become friends down the road, and I'll look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, dude. Sounds good, man. Reuben, I appreciate you so much for being here, bro. This is my hour and a half podcast, longest one I've ever done. I think I've probably done about 300 podcasts my entire life. This is probably this is the longest one, bro, and it's good. So for those of you that made it to the end, comment made it and tell me what you guys loved about this episode here. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, same thing, made it. Let me know what you guys think. Reuben, it's a pleasure, bro. I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you so much, man. This was solid.
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for listening to the JV podcast. I'm Jesse Vasquez, your host. I appreciate you for listening. And if you could do me a huge solid, go like and subscribe to this. This helps us tremendously. And as always, thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of your day.